Good morning to you. I'm so glad you've joined us this morning. I've brought these thoughtful weeks back to the church where I serve and I'm present every Sunday morning. I remember not long after coming to my first church further down the road in Bonhill, we had a Mayfair, a gala day one Saturday, and all the young folk were dressed in animal costumes. I remember well, Ivan, our session clerk's son, was dressed as a lion, and Peter, who later became a minister, dressed as a gorilla, and he was rushing into the crowds and scaring half the wains that lined the streets. It was great fun. They got their first choice of costumes, however, and I was left behind with a chicken. Now, I mean, who wants to be a chicken? And so I clucked my way down from the hill and eventually going through the gates of the church. I'll always remember there was a frosty-faced lady standing there, and she said to me, quite openly, "Is it not time you grew up?" And I looked at her and said, "No." And I went, "Bark, bark," and moved on. I'll tell you, it's a sad day when you can't laugh, and even sadder day when you can't laugh at yourself. Exuberance, joy, laughter, fun, they're good, they're positive images for us. I love the story of the minister who caught 3 wee boys stealing apples from his tree. And he said to them, "Do you know what the Bible says about thieves?" And one of them, who'd obviously been to Sunday school, said, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Good answer. A florist assistant once took a telephone order from a customer. The customer said the ribbon must be white with gold letters on either side saying, "Rest in peace." And if you can squeeze it in, we shall meet in heaven. So when the floral tribute arrived at the home of the deceased, the beautiful flowers were indeed adorned with a white ribbon with gold letters which proclaimed, "Rest in peace," on both sides. And if you can squeeze in, we shall meet in heaven. When Paul, the great apostle, wrote to the church in Philippi, he said, "Rejoice in the Lord always." I'll say it again, rejoice. Have you ever thought of joy being a command? Rejoice in the Lord? Well, it's easier said than done, but that's what Paul wanted for us, to rejoice. If ever there was a man who had learned to put life into perspective, it was him. Life was difficult for him. He had been beaten, he had been shipwrecked, he had been imprisoned, but for him, Christ was greater than any enemy. He believed that though things did not look good for him at that present moment, he had a firm belief that God was in control. And it's just that kind of cheerful, good mood he has as he rejoices in the Lord. I'm sure you've heard it said that it's not what happens to us that matters in life, but how we react to what happens to us. Paul is saying that we cannot allow things outside of us to influence how we feel inside. How can you be happy when people are hurling insults at you? When you're suffering abuse? Well, to do that, you've got to see the big picture. You have to be focused on more than the present moment. How do you maintain grace in the face of provocation? In the same way, I suppose, as you maintain joy in the midst of grief. You keep your eyes fixed on the big picture. God is in control. Listen, thanks for listening to me once again. I hope there's something in your life right now that causes you to rejoice. God bless.